Now today I'm kindly joined by Terry, and Terry's going to share an experience of getting ready for an undercover operation, aren't you?
All right. Did my OE with two other great pretenders, and after a year we came back looking very rough in appearance. I had long hair and certainly wouldn't be accepted back in the police the way I was looking, but we're on leave without pay, so we came back. I was asked to do undercover work, but unfortunately the undercover program had run out of money, and so I couldn't do it, as it turns out. So I cut my hair, and I then looked respectable. But shortly afterwards, the local vice squad asked me whether we could do undercover work locally. Well, by that time, I looked respectable again. Well, as respectable as I can look. And so I had to change my appearance to do undercover work. Normally, particularly today, you never do undercover work in the same city where you've been a policeman. But this is the early days when they were trying all sorts of things. It was very experimental. And so I'd been a policeman for 3 years in the city. And so therefore, you had to be careful because there's some places where they almost instantly recognise you. So I decided to change my appearance. So dyeing my hair was the first move I thought would be wise. So I went to a chemist shop in Royal Oak, and I saw the chemist lady, and I said, I'd like to dye my hair straw blonde, if I may, because I was a criminal and had particularly distinctive hair, and I wanted to look like him. And the lady said to me, oh, well, she said, you need blonde rinse. So she gave me that, and I went back to my flat, which is not too far away, and I put it through my hair, and my hair was notably lighter after having done that, but it wasn't anywhere near the colour that I had in mind. So I went back to the lady, and I said, as you can see, my hair is notably lighter, but it's nowhere near the colour that I want. Straw blonde is what I want. So she gave me a strange look, and she then gave me blonde dye. She said, put that through your hair. So I did. And my hair, as a result of that, was lighter again, but still nowhere near the colour that I'd hoped. So I then went back to her again, and each time I went back, she gave me even more strange look. One stage I thought she might be calling the police. In the end, she said, oh, well, you want blonding emulsion? I said, yeah, that's what I want, if that's going to do the trick. So she gave me this blonding emulsion. I went back to my flat. I put this in my hair. It was like a blue jelly all over my hair, moustache, chest, and other unmentionable parts of my anatomy. Well, just in case, you never know. And so I was flatting with two girls at the time, and on the bottle it said it must be washed off within 25 to 30 minutes of application. So I went out, laid on the grass, and I said to the lady, because we were sunbathing, I said, wake me up in 25 minutes time, whatever you do, because I've got to wash this off. She said, I will. But she never did. She was still asleep an hour later. When I woke up, I thought, oh, an hour, it's gone by. So I rushed inside, had a shower, and as I'm clearing a little space in the mirror, my hair is white as paper. And I thought, oh no, that's not what I had in mind. I looked like I was about 200 years old. So then I immediately put a beanie on, went up to the chemist shop again, and I said, look, as you can see, and she went, oh my God, your hair's white. Yeah. She said, you want brown dye. So she gave me this brown dye. I went back to the flat. Yeah. And by that stage, and no one had told me how dangerous it was to be dyeing your hair continually over such a short space of time. It destroys your hair and it's not good. And my hair was just fragmenting and just floating off into the breeze at the slightest movement. And the end result was it looked like my hair had been eaten by rats. There's chunks of it out, and every time I moved, there was more filaments of hair just floating off. And that was the beginning of trying to look different. And in those days, I did a lot of weight training, so I had a body, not like I have now. And I put on a body shirt which was about 3 sizes too small. So I nearly had gangrene in my chest, so you could see every relief and every outlet in the chest. I had pink jeans on, tight, and I had these Carnaby built-up shoes about that high, and of course it was in the 60s, and love beads. And I looked like nothing on earth. And that was me. And so I was ready to do undercover work. And the reason that I wanted to look a bit like that is that our first job was to infiltrate a gay club in the city.
What year was this?
This was in about 1968 or thereabouts. Can't be sure of the exact year.
Yep.
And the object of the exercise was that in this particular gay club they were operating without a liquor license, and they were selling champagne and a lot of top shelf. The other thing is a lot of drugs were going through there, they suspected, and also stolen property as well. And so that was the purpose behind it. I know it sounds a bit tame today, but then it was considered quite serious. And that was the beginning. And my mate, he captained the police team in football, so he was quite a rugged little guy. He looked less like a gay guy as you could possibly imagine. And even he didn't have to work at looking so strange, funny enough, because he was prematurely bald. So they took follicles out from the side of his head and they transplanted it in the top of his head. But unfortunately, these little bits of hair, they withered and died. It left him with his head pitted like the surface of the moon. So he looked a bit weird anyway. So him and plus me puffed up walking down the road. And so we went to the top of the Shakespeare Hotel to try and ingratiate ourselves with the gay boys in order to try and get an introduction to this particular gay club.